Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Smith. I'm the owner manager of TTM Home Inspections and Home Checkup Services. We just don't do home inspections; we do checkups. So if you want to check up on a particular aspect or the entire home, we can go out and do that. Um, we specialize in pre-sale. If you're getting your home ready to sell and you want to know the potential issues that buyers might see and try to negotiate, you can fix them prior ahead or give them a copy of the inspection report. Now, what this is, um, it's not going to be a full exterior inspection. We are doing a walk around in terms of it's a preliminary exterior inspection. Full home exterior inspection would take an hour to even 2 hours. If we're going to go examine the roof, the chimney, if it has one, any gas lines, if they do exist, for that type of fuel. We're going to be looking at the exterior sheds or garages, looking at the windows, the siding, the fences, the gates, the foundation, the structure, the grading of the home, the vegetation, the growth, the trees, proximity to the house, any heat pumps, we're going to examine those. The condenser and the line sets are on the outside of the home. Ventilation of the attic, very imperative. As well, if they have an air exchanger or what we call the heat recovery ventilation systems, which this particular home does have, and I've seen that the make and model within the real estate listing, and I do have information on that particular model, and I can estimate the year. I have experience as a HVAC residential inspector, so there are some notes of interest with that system. And once inside, the lines or the ductwork actually run through the attic, and the intake and exhaust vents are actually at the back of this residence. And it was hard to tell when it was installed. Usually there's some indication of flow on the siding. The siding might have been cleaned within the last couple of years. This particular home was built in 1997, so it does clear for any electrical issues such as aluminum wiring, asbestos tiles, or asbestos on heat pumps, that type of thing. Should not be a factor at this stage, at this year of construction. So we'll move on. It's just a different view, different angle there. You can see the green bin. Somebody must have just put it there. That's too close to the home. It could attract rodents or pests infestation. So you want that far away from the home, and probably do some protection against any type of pests and rodents and that type of thing. So we're coming up. We're still in the front. I'm looking over the fence. The gate was needed some repairs. I noticed the latch was intact, but the part of it was needs repairs. So this is a dual zone heat pump system. You can see the line sets. There's one that looks like it's going down into the lower level, and then there's one that shows on the real estate listing is in the living room area. Now, one particular note of concern here is that the heat pump condenser, that's the outside unit, is attached to the home. Now, these units can get revolutions per minute, can be quite high, especially in the wintertime. When it gets cold, it's got to work. So that fan can make a lot of noise. So it could be quite noisy. I'm not sure. I wasn't on the inside. It looks like the home was vacant. Oh, I'd say a month or two anyway. I'm not sure of the story there. The realtor was not around, but we carried out the preliminary inspection. This is part of the research process. It wasn't a full exterior inspection, although I had my GoPro on. I could go through the footage, and pretty much it covers everything. So I could make my notes and do the report as if I had my checklist with me. Now, the dual zone is there. You can see a fence on the right side. It does need some landscaping, a good mowing. And on the other side of this home, you will see coming up, there's a lot of shrubs that are too close to the home and the foundation. Now, just popping back to the front here, just to the left of where I was looking at the heat pump systems, the porch, the rails, the stairs, that's all wood. It needs maintenance. I don't see it falling apart here. I didn't have my level out, but it does need staining and probably a few support plates on the main post there, a few steel plates. And it's hard to say how strong those spindles are. Another thing is that for a lot of people, if they had to grasp that top there, that's a little wide for a hand to fit around. It's more of a guard than a hand rail. So that would have to be taken care of. A lot of construction companies now are putting on a separate hand rail besides the stair guards or the steel rails there. And that's for people that needed to help them to get up the stairs. You can see the downspout coming down. It's going right into the ground. Now, I couldn't tell from this where it exited out from. It's probably going into what they call the weeping system and drains the water away from the home, but I did not see where it exited. It's submerged, so I definitely have to find that out. The windows look fairly good. There's no peeling. They might have been put in. This is 29 years old. Maybe in the last 10 years. It's hard to say. The shutters need maintenance. They're getting a little faded, a little cracked there. And the green bin, like I said, is close to the home. So that's some things to consider. I mean, this is general maintenance. The foundation in the front, at any rate, I can see the waterproofing there. It's not a 3 or 4 phase water protection system. It's hard to tell. I would have to see the architectural plans to see exactly what they've done. Did they just use the rubber compound, or does it have a fiberglass board and a dimple board system in place? Just to the left of that shot, now we're coming up to the porch again. You can see some cracking in that main post. That should be either replaced or resecured, and definitely a good coat or couple of coats of good stain, I would say, and check the spindles. The light fixture needs caulking around the top, and that would prevent any water from going inside. The screen door and the window beside it, everything was fairly clean and up to par, but definitely needs some maintenance there. You can see where that downspout's coming down from the gutters. The siding, I didn't notice any defects in the siding. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it. I didn't push on it to see some siding, especially around this time, had insulation on the backside of the siding. So it would be firmer to push in. That will have to be looked at and accounted for as far as giving life expectancy, I guess. But everything looked in fairly good condition. And yes. So, like I said, we're going to look at the grading. The grading in the front, minimum grading should be 5%. I think this was around 15% in the front. In the backyard that you will see, It's like two parts to the backyard. It goes up. There's a bit of a hill, and it goes up top. Uh, it does need some landscaping done. Just another shot of the front there with my Honda Rebel. But yeah, like I was saying, the front part is probably a good 10 to 15% uh, angle grading, which is good. It's going to drain off any water. It's not going to go back towards the foundation. And I'm just going to change the timing on that. That's fairly good. There is a tree there. It looked like it was fairly healthy. I think there were still Christmas lights on it. um, might put, take that a little bit, raise up some earth, and put some flowers or something to that effect around that tree and make it more of a centerpiece. So there is potential here. If you were wanted to put some time into the home, I think it. We don't do a ratings on the home, but there's, when I see potential and some good aspects, it has good bones, but there would have to be probably, I would say, this is 1997. We would have to, once we get inside, examine the hot water tank. I suspect, I'm pretty sure it didn't say in the real estate listing the type of water tank and the type of the primary heat. I would presume electric. Now here we're on the left side. Here is a fairly significant issue. You could barely see the window there. All this vegetation should be really trimmed back completely. I would say at least 50%, if not removed. It's way too close to the foundation. The roots can penetrate the foundation. These are not trees, they're shrubs, but the root base is normally twice the size as the canopy, which is the vegetation you see on top. So that's very close, and it's actually covering up that window. And the window itself, um, there's probably not a bedroom there, but it's really too small for egress. So if there was a fire, you know, that could be an issue. That particular size of window, the height, and so on and so forth is not big enough to be classified as an egress window. And the shrubbery and the vegetation has to be. It's going to look better anyway. But I would take most of it down, leave some there. We're in the backyard now. This is just around the corner from there. We haven't seen the retainer wall. That was a real issue. uh, Actually, the rocks weren't secure at all, and some of them were falling down into the adjacent property, which, this must have been vacant for a while. So we can see the deck there. The deck looks generally in good condition. I like to use 6x6 posts and a better, they do have a diagonal there with the support underneath. I like to see plates on that with bolts to make it a little more secure. And the spindles themselves, not sure how secure they are. They're just sort of toe-nailed or screwed in there. But definitely needs another 2 or maybe 3 coats of good stain and some little more beefing up support. I would have to check closer on the flashing system, the drainage system, how the ledger board, that's the board that attaches the deck to the home, how that's put in, and make sure the underneath is secured properly with the proper hangers and fasteners. What I would do, just a suggestion, what I would do if I purchase this home is I would excavate, probably take that shrub out, excavate to have a window and some sliding doors, dig down and have a patio area and then stairs going up into the other section of the backyard. It would give you all the egress you need, let more light in, a lot more ventilation, so on and so forth. Now, here's the retaining wall. It doesn't show you, there's another clip that will show you uh, the rocks that are falling down. And part of the video that's coming up will show me wiping out. Not exactly impressive, but I mean, it's got potential. You can see where it rises up. So it's like a two-level backyard, albeit you would need some drainage in the retaining wall itself and below it. And up top here, it has to be landscaped. The tree looks in fairly good condition. The canopy's getting a little big, but it's a multi-level. So it's got potential for sure. Just making a few notes here. This would be probably I want to say the 7th edit. I like this particular software. I do have software that is licensed to me. I'm trying out the trial portion for this particular one, but I've used a version of it before, and it seems a lot more user-friendly, I would guess. I would say, excuse me. So you can see it needs some significant landscaping, some care. These retaining walls have to be secure. Here's the deck. Deck requires maintenance and further examination for structural situations. Now, as you can see up here, up at the top, that's the air exchanger, which is a heat recovery ventilation system. I could tell that from the real estate listing. So we got the intake and exhaust vents right up top. And it looks like there might be another dryer vent. Now, up at top of that is what they call a gable vent. Now, they back then, they did use those, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see it from the angle I was at if there's a ridge vent or a long enough ridge vent. Sometimes they put a ridge vent in, and it should be the span of almost the entire roof with the proper soffit ventilation. Sometimes the gable vents, if they are in effect, they kind of counteract that particular function. I was an inspector, HVAC inspector for residential homes in Halifax and surrounding areas. Did go quite far out of Halifax at times. Probably still within HRM, Hammonds Plains, out that way, a lot in Sackville, split levels, and that type of thing. So I've seen almost every type of air exchanger, if you want to call it that. Most of them are heat recovery ventilations systems, but you can see those vents. So the ductwork or the ventage lines go through the attic, and then they have drops, right, that go into each of the rooms, usually. And then they would have another system of ducts going through the walls or cavities down into the lower portion. Okay, so just to reiterate here again, requires further examination of the ledger board. I didn't get close enough. Like I said, this is a walk around preliminary examination or inspection. I want to make sure that that ledger board is secure, but has the proper on top, proper flashings, and it was installed correctly. Here you can see these look like they're just screwed in. I like to see plates on the main. I think these are 4x4s, and that diagonal 45-degree piece have some metal plates and bolted into there. Same up top. I want to make sure the hangers are there. But you can see it needs a really good 2 or 3 coats of stain. I didn't notice any major cracking in the foundation, which is a really good sign. I think back in '97, the foundation walls were thicker and probably harder, if I had to take a guess. But I would like to see in the middle here, I don't know if I'd keep the shed there or move it away from the home, back towards the other end. a nice doorway there and a nice window for access to the lower level would be nice, in my opinion. But it does look level. I didn't have my level out. There's nothing that looks like it's going to fall down. I've seen a lot worse decks structure. This does need some maintenance. The spindles, I don't know. I might beef that up, right? Put another thing here. And like I was saying, put a handrail installed on the stairway for people that need it to get themselves up. And like I said here, the main support posts should have metal or iron plates to give it that accessibility. Now, the wooden gate and the fencing requires repairs. The gate was actually broken on the left side looking out here, but definitely needs another 2 or 3 coats of good solid stain and some fasteners, probably some hinges, and so on and so forth. But all in all, it wasn't crooked. It wasn't falling off. It just needs some minor repairs and some upkeep, I guess you would call it. Just going to change the time on that. And obviously some landscaping here. You can see the adjacent homes. I didn't check to see if their systems were submerged. I didn't talk to the neighbors. I went through this place probably, according to my GoPro, was about 15, 20 minutes at most. So it was a walk around. I wasn't doing much narrative. I was making notes, mentally making notes, I guess. I knew what I was looking for, but there's always details you're going to miss unless I have my report template there and I'm going through and just reminding myself, oh, I should check this, I should check that. What I should have checked for, which I didn't, is any exterior plugs to make sure they have GFI protection and the proper rain covers. And that brings it up to the standard building practices. You notice I don't use the word code because we're not code inspectors. We're not a building inspector from the municipality. We are home inspectors that go in for an observational, usually hands-off, observational inspection of the components of the home, the systems. Oh, there you can see, is this the video? You can see a shot. There's the stones. The stone retaining wall is falling apart here. Actually, some stones were falling in. Here's me coming up now. I have a little wipeout here. Very impressive if the client was there. But at least, you know, I found out that is what they call a defect of the home. And it's dangerous. That's got to be taken care of, you know. So one of the neighbors haven't complained yet. But the stones, I mean, that's big chunks of granite. I would get a proper professional stone builder, landscaper, stone mason that really knows their stuff and get that secure, get that up. Normally, I would see it would go sort of a step effect instead of straight up and down, but they could do that too. But it should have weepers in there. That's holes that allow the water to escape from the backyard and flow out through the retaining walls. The video was a bit upside down. But definitely some landscaping. There was a little bit of a walkway there that could be beefed up. I'm taking a lot of photos, even for this preliminary, probably 50. You will hear a lot of home inspectors when they go in to do an inspection. They probably got 200 photos, and everybody wears some kind of video recording. I'm trying to get off the wall now. So go to a place, make sure that it's secure. I do a little hop. You can see them falling over there. Has to be taken care of. I mean, they're good chunks of stone. It would look good once it's put back together properly. And there's some landscaping, and they trim down all the shrub, remove most of it, I would say. That would look good. And there's the shed there. I might move that back or leave it there. It's hard to move stuff once it's secure there. It's a fairly big shed, so imagine the landscaping equipment is in there. So it's hard to say what happened at this point. Here's another shot. Now, by the right, which is normally, it was hard to say it was the intake or outtake. I didn't notice there's usually a flapper in the exhaust. I didn't really go up on the deck to look inside. But you definitely don't want a little beehive on your intake. You could just imagine, right? You don't want bees inside your ventilation system. At any rate, that would be checked out once we enter the home and we're doing a full home inspection. And that usually takes, for this particular home, I would say 3 to 4 hours. Where I'm carrying video now, or I might have a videographer with me to save time, I would give it 4 hours. I'm very thorough. If we have access to the electrical panel, that's where people have to exit the room, and I might take the front cover off. It's called the dead cover, to examine the wiring. Now, there was a hole drilled in one of these stones, so I'm not sure at one time, maybe they had rods in there to try to secure them. It's hard to say. At this point, the owners weren't there. I got a feeling perhaps they moved out of the house, or something to that effect happened. But they're fairly big chunks of granite. Would have to be properly done, properly secured, and properly with the drainage built in and tested. Now, where it's adjacent to a home without a fence, I would say to put some type of stair system in there. If it's more than two steps, you need a handrail for accessibility. But that might not be the way it's going to work, because I don't think, neighbors don't usually want you to walk through their yard every time you want to get in your home. There is a gate on the other side. I imagine that's how they got to the backyard, besides the back door by the deck. Okay. So, good points are, like I said, the ventilation system is intact. There's the beehive up by, I almost want to say that's the intake. I hope not, because that's what that has to come down. It's got to be sprayed. It should have a proper exterminator go up there and take care of that. That could be a real problem if that's the intake, or even if the intake's over there, because usually there's not going to be a damper, like a flapper, a damper on the intake. They have a grill, but the bees could go right through that. So, and the age and the make and the model of the particular HRV, heat recovery system, ventilation system, air exchanger. There is notes on that I do have. I'm not going to mention them during this video. Like I said, I was a HVAC inspector, but either the client, the buyer, or if the owner or the realtor wants to get a pre-inspection, I will bring that up at that point. But I've seen these before, and it's a very valid point. Plus, depending on the age of the ductwork, sometimes the insulation on the piping, the ductwork that's going through the attic, becomes deteriorated. And that becomes a real problem. It has to be replaced. So a full system, I will mention a full system of that nature, probably, I mean, I can't speak for the company, would set you back $5,000 to $7,000, depending on what has to be done. If the whole system's going to be done, and that includes the ductwork, and you want to put new vents. I mean, those vents looked in fairly good condition. They were metal. Depending, you have to get quotes. So that appears to be the clothes dryer exhaust vent, and it should have a magnetic damper. Same with the ventilation system. I don't know if they make those with the magnetic damper, but it's something, I don't know, it's relatively new. But that would close and stay put rather than flap around when the wind came. Some clothes dryer vents have grills on them, but they would tend to get full of the residue or the fibers that come out of the clothes dryer. Now, I didn't notice anything on there, so it doesn't look like it's been used in a while. But it's hard to say what's going on here. And so here's the left side going in. I can't tell if that's part of the property here to the home, or this is all the neighbors and they just own just the grass part here. But that ventilation, you can see it's smothering the side of the siding. It's too close, and the roots could be damaging the foundation, the integrity. We'd only know once I go in. Plus, it's covering up that whole window. So it doesn't look like the place was taken care of. I'd say within the last year anyway. But I'd probably remove those, try to put a path in of some sort, white gravel, trim it up. But get that out of there, trim it way back if you want to keep a little bit of it. But landscaping definitely has to be done. You got to clear that window, if anything. There's not a lot of windows downstairs. But the particular window that you see through the shrub there is not egress regulation. It's not big enough. Maybe a lot of people could get out of there, but there should be something else done. I can see the waterproofing there. It just looks like the rubber compound. But even on the side here, the grading is sloped away from the home. So that's a big help. But even though the roots are going to collect some water here, that has to be taken care of. I would get an estimate from a professional, well-known landscaping company. Now, the downspouts, as I mentioned on the front one, they're submerged. Now, I'm assuming or presuming it's going into the weeping system. So that's a pipe that runs around the home, and it's got holes in it, and it should be embedded in gravel and have a fiber covering over it to keep the residue or the stone, the gravel, the dirt out of the holes, out of that weeping system. They call it weeping system. And, weeping holes, weeping system. Not quite sure why. That's what they call it. So it's tied in there, but it's got to exit somewhere. I doubt if it's attached to the main sewer. I don't know if you could do that, but it's got to come out somewhere, probably in the back of the home. But definitely have to find it and make sure that it's working. I didn't see any puddling there or look like soggy land or anything to that effect. So chances are it's okay, but still has to be confirmed. The downspouts themselves look in good condition. The rain gutters still look in good condition. Like I said, for 29 years old, everything looks pretty good from the exterior. It does need some work, does need some maintenance, some landscaping. My own preference would be to put a double door down in the back. That would be fairly costly. So it just reiterates again, I have to locate the exit, the exhaust for the downspouts, and make sure it's cleared, it's working properly, there's proper flow. Would be a good idea to come during the rain, but I would presume it's the same person that moved in 29 years. Maybe they lived there 29 years. Hopefully, they kept the architectural plans, which should include a section on the drainage systems. Should, hopefully. But other than that, I didn't see any cracks in the vinyl siding, no splits, no bulging. I've seen a lot worse in newer homes, as a matter of fact. So, but definitely need some landscaping. Got to find out where those downspouts are exiting to make sure that they are clear, and confirm the attic is okay. I didn't notice either the what they call the stink pipe or the sewer ventilation system piping should be on the roof, usually more than one, and they should have a type of cap on them, not just open, so anything that could crawl down into it, and so on and so forth. Kind of like a chimney cap should be there to make sure nothing gets in there or drops down, or birds fly down there. Especially when a home is vacant for a while, you might find a smell in the basement near the drain. They should have a drain down there because sometimes the what they call the P-trap holds water in the bottom of that curve to keep sewer gas from coming back up. They dry out. So you would have to, once we do the inspection, we have to run the tubs, all the taps, take the temperatures, make sure that the hot water tank is running. Have to check the anode rods of the hot water tank. Now, I don't take them apart, but usually you could tell by the date. If they're 10 to 15 years old and there's no service record of the anode rod, that's gone. That should probably be replaced every 2 or 3 years, unless it's one of the power type anode rods. So it appears to have gable vents. I don't think they're decoration. I think they are gable vents that are opened. I did inspect the home. I think it was 1985. He had gable vents, and just a small section of the roof had a proper ridge venting. His issue, or the homeowners themselves, their issue, they had a ventilation of a bathroom going into the attic. So they had potential serious situation. We just caught it in time. All the rafters were black, which is a sign of the initial sign of dampness and the initial potential indications of mold. A remediator came in, gave them a free estimate, I believe, and took it all out. And he had a carpenter come in, put more ridge vents in. I think the plumber must have rerouted the exit from the bathroom. But that was a pre-inspection. So here, I make a note at the top. Always check out the neighbors' homes. As you can see, this is across the road. Think it was a different builder, perhaps, because a lot of these have bay windows. But same idea. Could have been the same builder. Same gable vent systems. The roofs, if that's the original shingles on all these roofs, that's quite a quality shingle. So very nice neighborhood. As you can see here, everything's trimmed up on these homes, so they're active in living. I like the way that they don't have storm doors on all of them. I don't believe, but they painted it. They almost look like a newer home, but this whole residential area, pretty sure was built back in the mid-90s. So that's a good indication. And they're all well taken care of here. No signs of deterioration on the trees, sidewalk on that side. And there was a sidewalk on my side as well. With a fire hydrant very close. So that's all good points. If you're in a good neighborhood, that helps a lot, you know, and you got good potential in the home for future improvements, you know. See some small windows up top on the side of these buildings, little more space in between. So it could be a different builder. Hard to say. But nevertheless, same neighborhood, same street, and things are looking good on the front. Just another shot here. If did I duplicate that? And here's the home right next to the home I was doing the preliminary inspection on. Imagine these, this looks a little different design as well. But the neighbors weren't home. The grading here is about 15% as well. And there's some potted shrubbery there. That's always a good idea. Could have a little more landscaping, especially on the canopy of that tree. That tree looks 30 something years old, I suppose. Both driveways are in good condition. Now the photos from the real estate listing, the driveway of the 102 that I was looking at looked like it was just coated. When I arrived, it wasn't just coated, so I'm not sure if that was an older photo or what have you. They're only going to show the best shots in your real estate listings, but I still picked up a vital piece of information for the potential client or the homeowner if they're doing a pre-inspection. So I might want to bring this down to 60 seconds. So we're looping around from the neighbor, the adjacent neighbor, and looks like we're going to hop up to the front of the building again. There's the real estate sign. Now this home was on the market for almost 2 months, I believe, because I shouldn't say it, there was a price drop. So, not quite sure what the status is here, if the homeowner is still around or moved out or what have you. I could have a chat with the realtor and don't know if she, it's hard to say who's in control of the home. It could be a relative, and maybe they don't live around here to do the maintenance. It's hard to say. I will ask. It's always good to have a pre-sale inspection done, especially if there's issues, depending, or they just want to sit it on the market and go that route. But the clients coming in will know that I've already done a preliminary and I've studied the real estate listing. Here you see again, in the front of the home, the downspout is submerged. Is it going into the weeping system? Is there a proper weeping system? I can see gravel under the porch and a few stones here against some maintenance. Some louvers from that shutter are missing, so I don't know. I would replace those and definitely get some maintenance. Get some of these decking boards that they're using here are starting to crack, but I can still see they must have been replaced. Still see those tags there, right? That's on from the building supply stores. That's not original from 1997. I do not think so. So those tags wouldn't last 30 years. I do not think. Now, do you need a permit to put a porch on? That's a good question. It is structure. is an important structure to the home. Um, Looks like it was done professionally, but it wasn't maintained. That would have been done with pressure treated wood. It would take probably 5, 6, 7 years before the pressure treatment would evaporate from the wood and it would need a coat of stain. So I would say it's done within the last 10 years. That is an educated guess. But the submerge of that has to be checked out. I did leave one of my rack cards there. As you can see, there's 20% off at this time for the homes I'm inspecting. Usually try to keep close to where I live, if that gives you any indication. There's a lot of nice homes in this area. There's some higher end homes further down the road. This particular one, I think, was listed for 500,000 and went down to 480 or 470,000. So still quite a significant chunk of money. So my special with 20% off at this rate where I'm restarting my inspections company, at this point in time, I'm not required to charge the HST due to the revenue and its revenue, gross revenue level I am at the moment. So you're going to save 20 plus 15, right? So 35%. But I am the owner. I make up the prices. So I have my research done. If the realtor or potential buyer, they would get a good price. I can guarantee you. There's our number there, 782-321-6544, or you can contact me through the website that's listed there. Okay. And I'm going to put the website information on part of the credits, so it will be available. There's a shot of the front. It has a fairly good curb appeal. That's a fairly wide, that I think of it, it's asphalt, but it's a fairly wide, fairly long driveway. So you could put a motorcycle up here or go through and put it in the back, put it in the shed or what have you. But that would fit probably 2 compact cars, I would say. That's fairly wide. That's wider than normal, or wider than average, I should say. It's got the gate right at the front, mailbox. Yeah, that's not too bad. This is basically, I believe there's bedrooms upstairs here. I can't tell. I've been in houses like this before. That might be it. It might be just basically a split level. Usually on that right-hand side, when they have that little window there, that's usually a stairway. But the attic would start there, gable vents up top. I can't really tell if there's a ridge vent. Hopefully there is. That soffits, I hope, are made correctly. There's another downspout. That's probably submerged. So we definitely have to check that out. Yeah, it needs some landscaping. This tree looked like it needs a little bit of trimming and some vitamins. So the Christmas lights are still on. So that tells me there's been nobody there, at least from Christmas. But other than that, the windows, I can't see them being 30 years old. But we'll have to check on that. Have to check and get all the details into the full report. Coming up to another video, I believe I went back and just did some more shots, some more video of that side of the vegetation that has to be trimmed back. check that window again. I think I'm searching around for the exit of the drainage system, which I did not notice. Like I said, I'm doing a walk around. I was only here for 20 minutes. I know this this is going on probably 60-minute video out of a 20-minute inspection, but I'm using a lot of descriptions and giving a lot of details. Now, keep in mind, this is just the exterior that we're going on. There's a whole other part of this is the interior and the electrical. And like I said, I didn't see any exterior plugs, which would be a good addition, but they have to be done correctly and they have to be ground fault protected, either within the unit or at the panel, and have the weather cover over it. That's current building standards for today, and that's what I go by on a safety aspect, and try to follow the current building standards. Don't use the word code. Some things, be as it may. But so just the video. It's done from the GoPro. Besides my cell phone, had like I said, 50, at least 50 photos, at least. I like to get a few shots, few angles to the front. I didn't notice any imperfections in the driveway, but it didn't look as close as probably I should have. That's a separate section. There's no attached garage, but there is a deck and a shed. And the shed would have to be opened up and examined, but from the outside, it looked in fairly good condition. I would say maybe 15 years old. Hard to say. These were the original owners that moved out, or the second people in 30 years. So we're just going to wrap up soon. Thank you for staying with us and tuning in. Hopefully you gained some knowledge, and that's what a TTM tries to do, is increase that knowledge of your greatest financial investment for most people's lifetimes. Not everybody. Some people got money coming out of money. Like I said, this is a nice neighborhood. It observes to have what they call good bones. Needs some maintenance. Taking another look at the fence there. I go up over the fence, get a good shot. I didn't walk up close to the heat pump systems. You have to check the insulation on the line set. That's the refrigeration lines that are coming and going into the system. Especially the bigger diameter line has to be well insulated, and where it enters the home has to be sealed, or it will let water in. A bit of an overhang there. I'm looking, bit of an overhang on over the lower level. I don't know if that would have a ventilation there, or soffits per se, but that will all come out once we are assigned to do the full inspection and entry the home. What we're trying to look for when we're outside is any possible water intrusion areas that can be identified. So once you're inside, you can go directly there, especially, not just there, but under any bathrooms, around any bathrooms, under the sinks. We have to check, all the electrical has to be checked. The panel, where they had the heat pump, they might have had an upgraded electrical panel. Quite often, that is the case. And that's a plus. Just taking a few shots, just coming up towards the end here. Getting up to the Honda Rebel. It's nice weather. I don't live that far away from this particular home. Or I should say the office is far away. So I'm familiar with the area. I've been out this way for at least 15 years.